1797 Japan, the Shinkansen, or bullet train in Japanese, would travel at speeds up to 200 miles per hour. That's like from my house to Trader Joe's in like 1 minute. What a dream. However, the problem was, every time the train would exit out of a tunnel, it would cause a loud sonic boom due to the train compressing the air at the end of the tunnel. Imagine living next to that every day. Your life expectancy would go down. No joke. You can literally die earlier due to noise pollution. Look it up. So if you took anything away from this class, remember Kevin is helping you live longer. Live longer so you can learn more about UX research. Anyway, this was a problem for the community. Most of the bullet trains went through dense neighborhoods, and the rail authority at the time also wanted to make the trains better, faster, stronger. But they would first have to find a way to make them quieter. In comes Eiji Nakatsu, the director of technical development and operations. He found that the problem was pressure waves. Now you see, Eiji also happened to be an avid bird watcher. And one day he was watching a kingfisher bird dive into the water at 40 kilometers per hour, barely making a splash. This was the aha moment. He wondered, how could a bird going so fast make little to no splash? He found out it was the shape of the kingfisher's beak that helped it become so streamlined. And the kingfisher's beak became the model for the bullet train. And this design of the bullet train ended up being faster, quieter, and used less fuel. This innovation is a perfect example of biomimicry, how we can learn from the world's best designer, Mother Nature. Now, people always ask me what UX podcasts or things I listen to for the latest UX trends. And the thing is, I don't actually listen to UX podcasts. I do have great podcasts I do recommend in the resources of this class, but I've learned the fundamentals of research and UX. And those things will carry on with you way longer than new fancy trends and fads, new fancy trends and tools. Tools come and go. There's always going to be new tools, new ones. It's impossible to learn all of them. And it's unnecessary to learn all the tools. You learn one, you pretty much learn them all. So I actually keep myself sharp by learning things outside of UX. I mentioned I studied biology, right? Now you don't have to be a biology nerd like me, but you too can learn to think creatively from an adjacent field. This learning from something outside of your existing field is something biologist Stuart Kaufman called the adjacent possible. If you only ever learned within your circle, it's harder to think creatively. It's harder to think outside the box. If you're interested in being a biology nerd like me, or reading more about where good ideas come from, check out BBC's podcast, 30 Animals That Made Us Smarter, and Stephen Johnson's book, Where Good Ideas Come From. This is where he also touches upon the concept of the adjacent possible. So I gave you the story of the bullet train as an example of innovation. So what is innovation exactly? Innovation happens when an idea is improved upon, combined with, or used in a creative way that adds value. Innovation lies at the crossroads of solving user needs, this is desirability, utilizing operational capabilities, which is feasibility, and being good for business, viability. When all three things are satisfied, you have the recipe for innovation. Let me show you some examples of innovative companies. Uber, they invented a creative working business model. They weren't the first to try ride sharing. They weren't the first, do taxis, but they were the first to actually make this work with their business model. So they didn't invent cars. They didn't invent GPS. They didn't invent ride sharing, but they took all of those things together and innovated by leveraging existing technologies to build a working business model. SpaceX, they didn't invent rockets or propulsion systems, but they broke down every step of the rocket stages that made rockets costly and innovated on them by making them reusable, or what parts of it could be reusable. TurboTax, another example, innovative American tax preparation software. They make it easy for users to file their taxes with the camera and recognition software. Now, they didn't invent the camera. They didn't invent recognition software. They simply innovated on existing technologies and applied it to the tax filing space to address pain points that users had. So why am I telling you about innovation? Because as UX researchers, we are innovators. You are an innovator. What we do is identify gaps based on user research to inspire opportunities for innovating the next generation of products, processes, and services. This is you, of course. Innovation is different from invention, right? As we mentioned, we didn't invent things, we're innovating things. But I do have some patents to my name, so there's possibility for invention too. That could be you. And believe it or not, if you take a look at a user journey map, the one you'll undoubtedly create from your awesome research, you're gonna map out the current user experience. But draw an aspirational line where you want your experience to be, where your users want the experience to be. And right in between those lines, that space, this gap between the now and the aspiration, innovation happens there. And since you already identified the problems, you have at your fingertips the opportunities.